what are your name and pronouns?
My name is Fryxie. The pronouns are she, her, turns out.
All right, and how do you identify?
Boy, complicated questions for the really simple answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? I honestly just identify as a woman. I don't tend to use any other words in any other context. If it's relevant like this, I'll make an exception, but in general, I try not to draw too much attention to things, but you know.
No, I gotcha. That makes sense. Can you tell me a bit about your VTuber model or persona?
Oh yeah, sure. She is, or I guess it's complicated. Especially since she's largely based on me otherwise, but is a fox girl, very long pink hair, is absolutely drawn in like a 90s style. I love her to death. And again, largely, I absolutely am a person who enjoys stuff straight out of the 90s. One of my biggest things is collecting retro gear and stuff like that, and kind of an obsession, so it kind of fits. And her hair is actually based off my hair color, so because I usually rock pink in real life, so it's very, very, very easy to spot me in a crowd. I'll put it that way.
That's kind of how it is with pink hair, right? It's very in your face color.
Yeah, it's very hard to go anywhere without some small girl or someone running up and saying you have cute hair, or pointing out and saying pink hair, and I wish I had pink hair, and I'm just like casually watching as the parents are mortified as I encourage it.
Well, they shall become like us one day. One day they shall enjoy anime and pink hair and dyeing their hair in general.
The real answer is just to encourage everyone to just be anime cat girls. Fine.
Yeah, that is the meaning of life.
You're so right.
All right, so how did you ensure that your model represented you?
Oh, that's fun. But yeah, originally So this kind of goes into a further question, and I can swing back around as well. It's all editing. I know that how things go, but realistically, I kind of got into VTubing because I like technology. I like messing around with tech. That's what I do for a non-VTubing is tech all day long, and there's a lot of fun tech involved. I made a 3D tuber ages ago, who I still use her on occasion. She's still my standard 3D model because my 2D was based on my 3D, so it's really easy to not to go back.
Did you use Vroid originally?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, let's go! All my 3D models are made in Vroid, so.
Yeah, it's all everyone's favorite game of opening up Unity and remounting your inevitable tail to your hips versus your hair so your entire tail doesn't swing when you move your head.
I feel like the good news, they do have tails now in Vroid. They actually just added tails.
They're not big and fluffy and
you can. That's why you do the V-Ray trickery, and you make them big.
That's fair. I have to be fair, I haven't messed around with it. I still have the extremely jank tail from like ages past, and it is what it is. I probably should fix it eventually. There's many reasons that I should fix it and redo a lot of stuff, but a lot of like why I made it was wanting to have an excuse to mess around with the technology. So a lot of it was kind of representing me via kind of being a furry fox girl with pink hair in real life too? ? So it was very easy to just, make yourself twice over, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people actually do end up starting out with Vroid, so it's not surprising. I think it's really cool though that you based your 2D model up based off of your 3D model, which I'm guessing your 3D model was based off of you. So
exactly,
or things that you enjoy. Mm-hmm.
It's very. If you happen to know who I am and you happen to know my VTuber model or see her hanging off on a charm on my purse or something, it's very easy to correlate and like draw the little line back. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so what drew you to VTubing, and do you find it rewarding?
Yeah, so originally, as I mentioned, it was mostly technology. Actually, one of my partners has been doing VTubing for ages now, and I got interested watching her do it, so I wanted to mess around with it, and eventually just made a 3D tuber on Vroid, like we were talking about earlier, and I just kind of enjoyed entertaining. I've always enjoyed entertaining. I've always enjoyed telling stories. I originally started because I wanted an excuse to do coffee reviews. For the longest time on on Saturday mornings. Ugh.
You like coffee a lot?
Oh, I love coffee.
Ooh.
I absolutely am coffee fox. It's absolutely a meme at this point. Half of everything I have lying around. I don't actually have my stream deck set up, so I can't really do any of the showing things on this interview. I can do it in VTS probably, but let's see if I can at least do a quick one just so if there's any amount of anything that'll be obvious on that. I do have a bunch of stuff that's like only for coffee because back in the day, basically all that I ever did was do coffee reviews, and I played Mahjong, and I still play a lot of Mahjong. Haven't done much coffee reviews because I take meds now that make it so I can't drink as much coffee. And those reviews were like, either I would waste coffee because I would be, tasting and spitting, which I feel bad about, or I'd be drinking about a half a liter or a liter in one sitting, with my meds is super not healthy.
You got a bit of a debuff there. It happens,
exactly.
Though. It happens. I'm a bit of a coffee addict. I can blame Starbucks for that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I've been, but yeah, from there, I just kept going, I guess, kept doing random things. My partner had a random idea that we might want to gather some people together and try doing an agency/group thing, and that became a thing for a while, and that's really been a huge part of my life since. I'm going to be completely honest.
Hell yeah. Okay. Man, you've been all over the place. You're the first person I've met that first of all does mahjong, but also coffee tasting, coffee reviews. That's so cool.
Yeah,
I did a coffee tasting one time, and that's it.
Oh, I love coffee tastings. I love, I still do it, but I don't review it as much because it's much harder to do over a week. But I would get a bag of coffee once per week from somewhere in the US. I'm US based. It's way easier to source in the US than it is to source elsewhere. Occasionally I went out of that, but usually it was US. And I would try it with a couple of different preparations. I wouldn't do espresso drinks because there's just not enough room in the area that I was doing it with. But I would do pour overs and and AeroPress and Clever Dripper and French press and just all sorts of different ways to try and see what kind of flavors come out of it, what kind of tasting notes you got, the different kinds of milk preparations, etc. It was really just an excuse for me VTubing originally to just do that. But honestly, VTubing from there has kind of turned into its own thing, so I'm completely happy with it.
I think it's really cool that you actually implemented some things onto your model to kind of assist the whole look of the coffee tasting. So that's really cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
So and this is just ridiculously silly lore, but so the group I'm in is Kisa Ten or Kisa Cafe. If you know what a Kisa-ten is in Japanese, it's a tea shop. And it kind of became the thing because I originally got all the assets based around my character, my VTuber, which was, in a cafe. And so I had a bunch of coffee assets, and it made sense to have people meet up in a cafe. So we just kind of naturally evolved from that. So now I have a bunch of assets that everyone uses that are kind of coffee related here, there, and yonder. Not even everyone consistently drinks coffee, but it works.
Can you share some of the highs and lows of your journey in VTubing?
Sure, absolutely. I would definitely say, in terms of highs and lows, the high is actually having time to do streams and things. I admittedly don't stream enough. It's kind of hard to catch me sometimes on my own channel. I'll do collabs all the time, but I live a very busy life, and holding a schedule is very difficult for how much my schedule ends up being. I'm trying to get better about it, but at the same time, I'm also doing a bunch of stuff in real life right after or during these next couple of months, so who knows how often I'm going to have a consistent schedule even then. So kind of, I would even say that the lows of my journey are just how bad it feels every single time I don't have time to be able to do anything that week, it's really hard to maintain tempo whenever you just don't have that time. Meanwhile, with the highs on the kind of the converse, because we have a group, I can support those who are doing the group stuff and are part-time to stream and are streaming and doing things like that consistently, and helping people succeed and grow bigger and working together has just been, it's amazing.
That's awesome. I think it's really cool that you managed to start, like, despite the fact that you've been so busy, you're still managing to do a lot of things on the side and, like, continue striving to stream, which just really shows that you really do care about it. And I think that's pretty awesome. That's a lot to...
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can to keep everyone going forward. It's not... I will say I have a little bit of guilt because I can't stream as much, or I don't stream as much because I just don't have the energy and the time. But as much as I can, and as much as I want to continue going forward with things, so,
There's no shame in that. I mean, the fact of the matter is you're still, like, putting effort into it, and even then, like, no one could really fault you for, not being able to put in as much effort as you want to,
Yeah, especially since from the beginning this has been a hobby for me. It still is a hobby, it will be a hobby. Many people do it professionally. It's definitely not anything that would align for me and something that would do anything more than for fun for me, because I just enjoy entertaining people, and I do plenty on the side that would make it so that I can do this without any worries, if that makes sense. Like my otherwise jobs and my otherwise work makes it so that I can do this stress-free, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I think it's interesting because a lot of people actually do want to make this into a career, and I'm definitely no stranger to that feeling, right?
Sure.
But it's just like it's nice to hear sometimes that some people just do it as a hobby, and it's just something that they just enjoy doing on the side. There's no shame in that either.
And there's definitely no shame in wanting to make money on it or make it a career. It's definitely nothing wrong with it. It's just not anything that fits what I want of it, because I don't think that I would be happy with it regardless. Like, I much prefer to do a donathon or help with a donathon to help push people, to help bring other people up versus myself and anything I do with it sort of thing. If I was to do a donathon on my own channel and it's not for trying to raise money, like we just did a bunch of donathons so that we could help the entire group, or everyone in the group who wanted to go to Offkai. So we have raised enough where realistically everyone can go and be relatively comfortable at this point.
Let's go! Nice. Congratulations! Hope to see you at Offkai then. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, you'll absolutely have to wander by our table.
Oh, sure will. Actually, I'm not sure if I think I put it in the announcement, but this video is actually going to be presented at the beginning of my panel at Offkai Expo. I'll be guesting there, so I'm super excited, very excited. And so
that'll be so cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. It's my first time going to a con in a long while, honestly. It's been about almost 2 years now since I last went to a con, embarrassingly enough. I used to go like 3 times a year, and it's just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm excited to mostly to just go out, go somewhere, and not be in the home all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the last 2 conventions I've been before this one were like a tech-related one, or it was like a women in tech-related one way back when, and then like I think theoretically there was like a furry con like local to where I was that I went to for like a half a day because why not get out of the house,
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. God, we have like one that's coming up here and just like in an undisclosed location.
Sure.
And I'm super excited because summertime con and all that,
Right, exactly. And it's just like, and you might not go for all 3 days. You might not go do anything all 3 days, but you might just go for a day. But it's getting out. It's doing things. It's important. It's important to exist, I feel. And that's also a large part of why I like doing VTubing, is that it's nice to exist and help people feel like they have a community and somewhere to belong,
Yeah, no, I think that's really commendable. Seriously. Okay, sorry for getting off topic also. My apologies.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Would you say that VTubing has helped you discover more about yourself then?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be very much a person who would talk a lot about, or just talk with friends or tell stories, but mostly just to like, either loved ones or just like close friends. But it's having a larger excuse, an excuse to talk to a larger audience who may also share like particular traits, oh yeah, what would be a good word for it? Particular hobbies, particular interests, I guess. Yeah. it makes it really easy to connect with people on a different kind of level than you would have directly, where it's less they are interested because you're interested, and more you're both interested independently and having a conversation, you know? And that was kind of like why I was originally scared of doing those coffee reviews originally, was that I was worried that I wouldn't find anyone. But by the end of them, I had, 6, 7, 10 people who just showed up specifically just to talk coffee on those weekends. I really do kind of miss them, but they're super hard to. They were. I still want to find a way to get back to those. I do miss them so much. So, anyway,
I really do hope that you manage to. Seriously, the way I see it is, if it's a niche that you enjoy, then it's a niche somebody else enjoys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the most like, for example, I had one person who came in. I was talking about and this is really off topic, but it was a Ethiopian blend. It was an Ethiopian single origin that was particularly tasting like cherries. And if you haven't ever had light coffees taste like fruit. They're wonderful.
Yeah. I used to do coffee tastings a little bit. Like I mean, full disclosure, I used to work at Starbucks, coffee tastings are kind of required. Mm.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so the guy's response was to see if I could hunt down some goat milk, because goat milk would seem like it would fit the characteristics well. And I spent the next week doing that, and it was really fun. And he showed up the next week and asked if I did it, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. It kind of made the cherry be like a gamey cherry, which was different. It turned it into making. It tasted more like a wild fruit versus a cultivated one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Vaguely. I mean, I'm obviously no coffee expert, but nor am I an expert of fruit.
I assure you, I have not done this professionally, minus a tip. I guess if you ever get paid for anything, it's professionally, but
Yeah, I mean,
by that vague definition.
One might argue. But yeah, no, I get what you mean. That's really cool though, man. Oh, man, I try to like I'm very I like sweet stuff, right?
Sure.
But I think like lighter roasts are usually what I enjoy, because they do have that fruitiness to it.
Exactly.
And I think the dark roasts are good. It's just a little too much for me sometimes. It's a little too overpowering, and I'm just like, not my thing.
Yeah,
but it's because usually like an earthy taste
understandable.
To it. So I don't know. I'm weird.
No, you're not weird. That's actually pretty common. I feel like there's like 3 kinds of coffee people in the world. It's the kind of people who drink it every day and don't want to think about it, which are going to be like the medium roast people who buy a big blue tin and just don't ever think about their Folgers. You have the people who want like coffee sweets, like coffee candy drinks from Starbucks, in which you need burnt coffee to taste through all of the sugar. And then you have those who are just who want to taste the coffee itself, who tend towards light or like lighter medium, because they want to taste like sweetness inside the coffee without there being sugar. So.
Yeah, and then also I like finding different foods to pair it with too. Oh, it just tastes so good.
Exactly.
Man, yeah, that's a good feeling.
You're
I
so
think
right.
better than but I think better than I like a cheese Danish with a light roast. It's so good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Delicious. Anyway, so my final question for you. What would you say to somebody who was looking at VTubing as an option to being their truest self in content creation?
That's actually
You can think about that one. It's okay. I won't test you.
Yeah, it's give me a couple of seconds. Let me formulate my thoughts on that.
All good.
I guess my entire statement, and this kind of goes to streaming or creation in general, or it's even like I have friends who have wanted to try making VTubers, but they didn't necessarily want to stream. They just wanted an avatar that they actually enjoyed presenting themselves as on calls and things. And in general, my advice is that is 100% good. I have a thing where my biggest gripe with this post-COVID, happened during COVID, I guess a bit, era is that so many people are averse to showing any side of themselves whatsoever. Like, so many people just want to be audio only on a call. So many people don't want to have any sort of feedback at all that's like personable. And I think that VTubing is a completely valid way to not have that, to have that kind of anonymity, to have that kind of presence, while also avoiding, which if people are trans or if people are non-binary or if people just have dysmorphia or anything else, not having to worry about how they look to a camera. They can, you still have facial expressions, you still have a person controlling the thing, there's still someone to talk at or talk with. And that's also why I think it works on streams as well, is that it gives that person there, that personability that can exist, and you don't have to have that face that you like. You don't necessarily have to have a face that you want to put in front of a camera, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Absolutely.
So my advice on that is try it. Just make it. Do the thing. Make one and try hopping into a call with your friends and just smile and be like, hey, by the way, I'm turning on my quote unquote camera, and then just have a conversation. Everyone might chuckle for a bit, which inevitably will happen. Everyone will inevitably chuckle until they get used to it because it is something novel. But it does help a lot, and you do get used to that really quick. And it does help with communication and being human, despite, not necessarily always being human as VTubers, but, the concept of like that humanity is expressed so much better when there's anything representing the person versus just a voice, in my opinion. And that's just so important to me. And that's just me saying, just try it. Just try it,
I know some people, I get there's like a stigma against it, but some people just choose to, like you said, make a model and that represents them online, and they call themselves, a VTuber, and it's whatever, because they're just representing themselves as like how they want to be. And I think that's a good thing, honestly. I know there's like I said, there's a stigma against it, like they call V-tweeters or whatever, but I don't think there's any problem with just, like you said, being yourself and, creating something that you feel represents you well, and there's no shame at all.
Oh yeah, 100%. I will say that you might want to reconsider if it is becoming everything about who you are to the point where you are refusing to be seen outside of that in any context. But as an in-between step, like there's nothing wrong with it, all the way up to the point where you're wanting to throw yourself away, because there's always that person behind who's very important.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Man, that's some very good advice. Thank you so much, Fryxie. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Is there anything else that you want to add? You want people to know about your experiences?
I don't think so. Do you have any other questions on anything I've mentioned? I think I've kind of gone over what I was planning on going over so far, so.
Yeah, no, that should be good.